Good afternoon, everyone. Hopefully, you're having a great Saturday. And welcome to our daily lectures from the Cámara Peruana de Comercio Exterior. Today, we are going to talk about, well, as usually, there are English classes. Today, we're going to talk about the production. The production process is a very interesting one. It is one that involves the human side and also the inanimated side of the company, which would be the factory, the machines, etc. But before we get into that topic, I would like to introduce myself as always. My name is Carlos Martinez Flores. I am an English instructor and speaking coach. I am a former team leader at Pacifico University at TIDU. And currently I am an EFL teacher at Mater Purísima School. Welcome to these classes. Remember, we are here on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. Okay, so the topic of today is, like I mentioned before, production. Very good, let's begin. Production, as you can see in the picture, production has to do with cooperative work between man and some cases machine, or anything that has to do with the production. Sorry for being redundant. For the production of what business is. Okay, so in this case, we are going to work on the topic of production. The first thing we are going to mention is some modern approaches of manufacturing. For example, lean manufacturing. We will define this topic in a little while. Good afternoon. How are you? Okay, the following topic that we're going to talk about today related to production is the types of the production process. For example, the continuous process and others that we're going to mention, okay? So the first one are the modern approaches of manufacturing, and the next is the types of production processes. Next, following that, is the control of capacity, okay? That we should be able to know if we are going to again be able of producing what we commit to produce, right? For example, here we have forecasting a demand. We are giving a prediction of what we will need to produce. Good afternoon, Hector. How are you? Next, the control of inventory. Okay, it's very important to control inventory. As you know, is what we have to be able to create our product. Okay, now there are some advantages and there are some disadvantages, believe it or not, in this case. Okay, so we're also going to talk about that. And finally, with the things that are referred to quality, for example, the ISO 9000 evaluation or certification, right? So it's important for us to be able to know these 5 aspects of what it is, what is related to production. Okay, so like I said before, the first one is the modern approaches to manufacturing. Next, we are the types of the production process. Then we will talk about the control of the capacity. Following, we're going to talk about the control of inventory. And finally, we're going to talk about quality, or what relates to the ISO certifications. Okay, remember that if you have any questions, I will answer your questions through here, through the Zoom application, and also through the Facebook app. Okay, so if you have any questions or comments, remember that I will be happy to answer your comments or your questions. Let's continue. Now, first, modern approaches of manufacturing. Okay, here we will mention some of the approaches that are common or typical nowadays. The first one is lean manufacturing and JIT. Okay, um, both related to the efficiency, but in lean manufacturing, efficiency is a plus for the customer, where in JIT the total process focuses on being efficient. Okay, and JIT means just in time, right? So, like I said, both are very similar, and they are sometimes interrelated or mentioned together. But if you want to find the difference between JIT and lean manufacturing, we want to add that JIT is basically everything needs to be efficient, because everything needs to be done quickly and on time. Whereas in lean manufacturing, we also need to do things efficiently, but the product itself needs to be efficient. Okay, so that's the difference, or the slight difference between lean manufacturing and JIT. Let's continue. The next one is Kanban. This is well, there are a couple of aspects that we're going to mention that come from Japan, because as you know, they are one of the leading countries in what efficiency is related to. As you know, if you see the label "Made in Japan," this by itself tends to be a certificate of quality. Okay, because of the standards that they follow. So using a pull system where products respond to real observed demands. And this contrasts with the push system where production is based on a forecast of demand. Okay, so I'm sorry for the typo again, it should say push. A pull system is, like I said, is you apply to you're talking about real things, real facts. The push system is where all your studies or your results are based on forecasts. Okay, what results of certain evaluations and certain standards tell us that will probably be a result. That is the push system. Okay, and the pull system is basically related to facts. Okay, what about real things? Then we have flexible manufacturing, where designing machines do multiple tasks and reprogramming machines tools while they're running. Okay, so what happens is that we program a machine to do a certain task, and during the process, maybe some things need to be changed, or the machine itself, like we mentioned before, machines that control other machines. Sometimes these machines recognize that things need to be changed or modified to improve the quality of the product, and it is capable of doing so. Okay, it is not as rigid. Okay, things can be changed during the process if and it is necessary. And finally, mass customization. Okay, it's tailoring products to meet the needs of a large number of individual customers. This is when we create products specifically for a certain market. Okay, things that are made specifically for, let's say, this group of people or this region, or whatever qualification or category you want to have. You make products specifically for this group. Okay, this is what's called mass customization, when we make tailor products that meet the necessities or that meet the requirements of a certain group. Okay, so far, remember, these are what we said, modern approaches of manufacturing. Okay, lean manufacturing and JIT, we want to be quick, right? Kanban, where your products respond to real evaluations. Products are modified in the spot, and they don't adjust to predictions, but to real observations. Flexible manufacturing is when the process of manufacturing can be modified and can be edited during the whole process. And of course, this is recognized by, again, the machines that run the machines. And mass customization is when we tailor products to meet a large group of individual customers. Okay, so these products are made specifically for this type of customers. Following that, the types of production processes. Okay, here we have 5 different types. Here we have 5 different types of processes, and we're just going to mention them and give certain characteristics related to them. The first one is the continuous process. Okay, again, work in progress without stopping. It's continuous. It never stops. It never stops. Its name says it. It's a continuous process. Okay, manufacturing from start to beginning continues all the time. It's non-stop. Then we have the mass processes, when we make a big quantity at the same time. Okay, but it says high volume, low variety, because we make one item in a big number. That means that the machines or the company is able to produce a big number of a certain item, just as long as it is the same item. Okay, that is the problem with mass process, right? That numbers are big, variety is low. Next, we have the batch process. When we have groups of products of the same type move to a process. So we have, for example, as product A is produced at the same time, and then the next step, product B, and then product C. Like the process is divided by steps. Okay, so the first a big group goes to the first process, whereas let's say manufacturing the package. Okay, so a big number goes through this process, and then that same big number goes to the next process, which is labeling the package. Okay, and the last big group goes to the last process, which is sealing the package. Okay, so each a big number of a certain product goes through different stages of or levels or steps of the production process. Okay, but they don't go in by one, they go in big numbers. They go, a big group goes into the same process, and then the same big group goes to the following process, and so on. Okay, this is batch process. Then we have job production. This is where we customize things. These are things that are made. This is again the word tailor made. Okay, this is when people when the process is made with certain specifications. You know, we don't. The first 3 were in big numbers in large quantities. In the last part, the numbers are literally individualized. Okay, 1 or 2 at the same time. And then we have a project, which is it's as in project management. These are customized products with long time scale. These are things that are going to be made, okay, again, individualized for a certain client or certain clients, but they're going to take a long time to produce. Okay, notice how we went from constant continuous process to project. You know, we went from making big quantities of one thing in a short amount of time or a determined amount of time, and we go to making few things in a long amount of time, but without with special specifications. Okay, so notice we went from 1 to 5, goes from big numbers, low variety, and quick time, and here long time, long process, but the products are highly customized. That means that they are totally individual. They're made for a specific person or group of people. Okay, so these are the different types of production processes: mass and individual, rapid to it takes its time, in groups, and in big numbers, low variety. Okay, customized and no variety. So notice how 4 and 2 are totally opposite, right? Low variety, customized. And then we have fast production. It takes a longer time to produce. Okay, so these are the different types of the production process that we can evaluate. Okay, and they go from less to more time, from less time to more time, more variety to less variety, etc. Very good. Let's go to our next topic. to control capacity. Okay, again, it's important. Okay, we need to control how much we're going to. For example, if I tell you my company is capable of producing 100, I should be able to produce 100. Okay, I should have all the tools and all my everything that I need to produce 100. I cannot do less or more. Okay, because then my capacity will be under or overstocked. Now, how do we control this? The first thing we can do is by forecasting the demand fluctuations. That means, okay, so this is made by studies, by evaluations, okay, and a seasonality. This means that there are certain seasons, just like in the weather, we have winter, spring, summer, and autumn. In products, there are also high seasons and low seasons, okay, so we should know. For example, in certain areas, the end of the year is high season, so we should be capable of producing more products during this time of year. And in certain parts, it is low season, the end of the year, so we don't need that much material. We don't need that much raw material. Maybe we can decrease the people working at the same time. So we control our capacity by the seasons, okay, and this is done by forecasting the demand, okay, and by fluctuations we mean that sometimes it goes up, sometimes it goes down, okay. That's one way of controlling the capacity. Another way is by maximizing the capacity, okay. Make the best use of the capacity you have, okay. That means that um, if my company can make 100 of something um, in the best quality in the best time, then I should maximize it. There's no reason for me to only make 50 of something if my company or my factory can make 100. Okay. And of course, there's no reason for my company to make 200 if it can only make 100, because then I know that the excess 100 are not going to be of the same quality. So we need to maximize the capacity. Okay. Again, every company, every factory has a maximum and a minimum amount of products that meet the standards. Okay, if you surpass this, then of course your quality control will not be good, and if you go under this, then you will be wasting time and effort. So it's always important to know what is the maximum amount of something that you can produce and maintain quality standards. Okay, that's what it means by maximizing the capacity. Next, we have monitoring the equipment. Okay, this is another way of controlling the capacity. Set up and change over time, causes of breakdowns, speed losses, and quality losses. So set up and change over time. That means that I need to monitor my equipment. For example, there is certain machinery that tells you, okay, every certain amount of time you need to change some parts, or every certain amount of time you need to buy a new one because the machine won't work in the same way. Okay, causes of breakdowns, you need to recognize what can damage my machine and of course avoid it. Maybe heat is a problem, maybe humidity is a problem, maybe the speed, maybe I don't know, there's certain, every machine works in a different way. Maybe the fluctuation of energy, so if you know that your machine depends on a lot on a stable amount of energy, then you need to buy a stabilizer, an energy stabilizer. Or if you know that your company, that your machine will get damaged if your in case of power outs, then you need to have a machine that would a power generator to maintain the flow of energy all the time. So you need to be able to recognize what can cause breakdowns and avoid them. Okay, and finally, speed losses and quality losses. Okay, what can cause your machine to slow down, and what can cause the machine, or I'm focusing on machines, or what can cause your production or your equipment to deteriorate in its quality. Okay, so all these things need to be taken into account. You need to predict them, you need to evaluate them beforehand, and if you know that something is going to cause a problem, then you need to make sure that you have the solution in the moment. You're not going to wait for a problem to appear to finally try to solve the problem. Okay, so that's why it's important to monitor the equipment. Okay, so far we have mentioned three ways that we can control the capacity. First is to forecast the demand depending on the seasons, to maximize the capacity of our factory, and to monitor our equipment, okay? And then the following is to adjust the capacity, okay? We need to adjust the capacity. We need to adjust, for example, how many people we need, or how many machines do we need working overtime. Do we need part-time staff, or do we need full-time staff? Okay, can this be done with either of the ways? Next, subcontracting parts of operations. Maybe if I decide to make some of the parts, it's going to take more time, but maybe there is a company that can create these parts while I'm doing another part of my process. Then I would speed up, because instead of taking the time to do step by step, some of the steps can be done by another company, and that would increase decrease the time of production. So maybe we can subcontract some parts, or some parts of the operation, and maybe we can change the demand through price. Maybe I am overstocked with things. I have too many of something, so maybe I can have a certain sale or offer or discount, or offer discounts to be able to sell these products. Okay, because sometimes that could change the demand. If I lower the price, it's more convenient for me to have my company understocked than overstocked, and I would lose money if I'm overstocked for too long. So I start selling my products at a lower price, and developing products with seasonal demand. Okay, so this goes with the first one. If I have products that can only be sold in the winter, why not try to create products that can also be used in the summer, or maybe in the middle of the year? If I only make products that are just for a certain area, or a certain business, or a certain type, but there are other 2 or 3 types, why not try to invest in making the other types too? Okay, so develop products that will be available throughout the year, throughout every season that there is. Because if we only create products that work in only one season of the year, then we are going to do nothing the rest of the year. So it's important to keep in mind these 5 aspects when we talk about when we manage about control capacity. Again, number 1, forecast our fluctuations. Okay, when am I going to sell more? When am I going to need more, sell less, or need less? And adjust our numbers to that. Second, maximize the capacity. Okay, if my company has a maximum quantity, maximize it. There's no need to produce less if your company can produce more. Third, monitor the equipment. Okay, and machines are like anything; they need to be monitored and they need to be controlled, and we need to predict possible problems. Okay, what could happen if this happens? Okay, what could happen if we do this? What could slow down our production? What could damage our machines? Okay, so we need to take into account, and even if we don't use all of these things, it's good to have them into hand and to have been taken into account. Finally, when we talk about adjusting the capacity, we talk about how can we move around our numbers. First, if we talk about people with overtime, part-time staff, if we talk about speeding up time, then maybe subcontracting some parts. If we want to decrease, if we have too many of something and we want to clean up our quantities, then we change the demand through price. Okay, maybe we make an offer, or we lower our prices, and we can eliminate the excess, or we can maintain a certain number of products in stock. And of course, developing products with seasonal demand. That means that I will be producing and selling year round, and not only in a certain moment of the year. Okay, very good. So these are the 5 topics related to control capacity. Again, remember, if there are any questions, you can ask them through Zoom or through Facebook, and I will be happy to answer your questions. Okay. Next, the control of inventory. This is important too. This is another one of the topics, because we need to know what we have and how much do we have and how much do we need. So there are 3 aspects that we're going to mention here. The first one are the advantages. What are the advantages of controlling our inventory? So of course, it's buy the best when available. Okay, so if I control my inventory, I know when to buy and what to buy. Okay, this is obvious, profitable for the company because I will get the best in the best moment. Respond quickly and flexibly to changes in the demand. Okay, so we will respond if we take control of our inventory, then we know that okay, I'm running out of something, so immediately I go and find it and look for it, or I need to modify a certain product. If I am controlling my inventory, then I will be able to make these decisions on the spot. Insure against unexpected problems. Again, this is one of the main reasons why we need to control our inventory, because um, we don't have to wait for a problem to occur for us to have the solutions at hand. Okay, if I know that a certain piece of my machine wears out in 6 months, then I'm not going to wait 6 months to find this piece. I will have it before. That way, if for some reason it wears out before the 6 months, I already have it at hand. If I know a certain machine has a certain lifespan, and I'm not going to wait for the machine to stop working for finding a replacement. Okay, and to buy in bulk reduces costs. Okay, this is a general information. If we buy in bulk, in big quantities, we're definitely going to save money. Okay, so these are some advantages. Again, we know when to buy because of the price, because of the quantities, because of the qualities. Second, we're able to respond quickly and rapidly to any changes that may occur. Third, we are able to have all the necessary parts and everything at hand in case of unexpected problems. Then, of course, and finally, to buy in bulk is always it saves you money, because when you buy in bulk, you get a better price. Next, disadvantages. What disadvantages do we have here? Okay, so here we can mention that it ties up working capital. That means that, okay, if you're going to spend all this money to prepare, to ensure possible problems, to be able to buy in bulk, that means that you're not going to have too much capital. This capital is going to be invested in the inventory. It's going to be there. I'm not going to be using it immediately, but also the capital is just sitting there. Sometimes it might happen that we never use these things because maybe our machines last longer. So this capital is not lost, but it's there. Okay, so it ties up. It uses the capital that we may have. It has to be stored, insured, and handled. That means that we need a place to store it. If we don't have a specific place or a special place to store things, then they might get damaged. We definitely need to insure them because, because since we're not going to use it immediately, that means that we're going to use it in the long run, and we need to make sure that if I don't use it in the following 3 or 4 months, that it's still going to be operational and valid in these 3 or 4 months. So we need some type of insurance. We need some type of security that when we need it, it's going to be available and not damaged. And of course, it has to be handled. Okay, if one thing is if I buy something and I use it immediately, then that's done. This needs to be handled properly and safely from my supplier to my storage, and then in the storage it needs to be maybe maintained with certain temperature, certain maybe lighting issues, humidity issues, etc., etc. So this will definitely increase the costs. Okay, and finally, it can be deteriorated or it can be damaged. Like we mentioned before, if you're going to store things, you run this risk. That's why we go back to the second point where insurance is necessary. Okay, so notice how it has many advantages. You won't have a problem. If your problem will be quick, a problem will be quick to be solved because you have things at hand. You are prepared against any unexpected problems. If you buy in big quantities, it's going to be cheaper. But the disadvantage is that all this money that's going to be sitting there without you using it yet, it's going to be tied up money, tied up capital, You're going to need to invest in a storage place. Will need to make sure to insure it. You're going to need to invest in people to handle your inventory. And of course, even sometimes, even after taking all these necessary precautions, they still can be damaged and deteriorated, and that could represent a loss. Okay, and then finally, we have the perpetual inventory system. Okay, this is software knows what was told when and where, and when inventory falls to a predefined reorder level, there is a trigger to order more stock. Okay, so this is basically done by machines. Okay, it's a program that knows how much you need and of what. Okay, so the machine automatically is, for example, if I need 100 of something to work in minimal conditions, and I always have 200 because I like to stock. Once it reaches the 100 or 99, it immediately will make an order to recuperate or go back to above the minimum number. Okay, so but of course this information needs to be given by the person who is in charge. He is going to determine how much we need and when are we going to need it. Okay, and this is called the perpetual inventory system, where it's a system a software or a program that maintains us always over the level of what we need. Okay, definitely, this is something that is beneficial for companies, because in that way you don't have to worry about what we need or when we need it. But of course, it takes up some kind of control of somebody who puts in the information of what we need and when we need it. And also, we need to take into account that since this works automatically, it's going to buy and acquire things without any necessary control. We need to know that we're always going to need capital. We need to know that as soon as this happens, we need to be able to have the space to put it, to store it, and we need to have the people to work on it and follow all the necessary precautions to avoid the disadvantages that we mentioned before. Okay, so this is another thing that needs to be taken into account whenever we talk about the control of inventory. Okay, so notice how even though to always have something in inventory tends to be thought of as an advantage, there are some disadvantages, okay? And there are ways of controlling it, okay, with the perpetual inventory system. Next, quality, okay? When it comes to quality, there are some things that we can mention. Manufacturer, customer point of view, okay? Quality depends on, for example, if I sell a product, for me, this is top quality. But I also need to take into account what the customer thinks, okay? Maybe for the customer, he doesn't see it as a quality characteristic. So we need to take into account both things. We need to always evaluate. That's why sometimes companies are constantly surveying their customers. Okay, what do you think about this? Put 5 stars in this process. How would you evaluate the attention? So, if you notice, whenever you make a phone call to whatever company, they always tell you, wait, after the call, please answer this survey. When you use an application, normally after you finish using the product, it's going to ask you, please answer this small survey. How many stars? Is it good or is it bad? Okay, it's always important for the manufacturer to know what is the point of view of the customer. Of course, the manufacturer sells a product that he thinks it has the necessary quality. Second, we have perfect quality comes at a perfect price. We can't expect to receive quality and related to cheap. Okay, that doesn't work out. Okay, cheap products will normally have a cheap quality. So we need to know that. We need to know that if even though it might seem tempting to sell things very cheap because we want to be profitable, we also need to know that if we want our products to be of a perfect quality, it comes at a cost. And then we have products need to follow quality standards. For example, ISO 9000, everybody knows it's a way of standardizing certain products in certain categories. Okay, the checking on quality. What do you check? Stages in the production process, the frequency. Okay, so these things need to be taken into account. Okay, every time during the process, we need to make sure about every little detail. Okay, what do you check on? Is my product going to be? Is it a product that's going to be related to technology? It needs to meet all the technology quality standards. Is it a product that's going to be related to, let's say, is it a household appliance? Then it needs to meet all the qualities that a household appliance must have. Also, during the stages of process, okay, every stage needs to be evaluated. In this stage, this product needs to be able to meet all the standards. So we evaluate the standards in the moment. And then we have benchmarking. Benchmarking is when we compare a product to others. Okay, you normally see this, like for example, if you like to watch YouTube, you're going to see benchmarking between cell phones. Okay, we compare the three cell phones, the top selling brands, and we put them to the test to do the same thing at the same time, and we see we evaluate stability, how fast they are, and image quality, whatever. Okay, so this is benchmarking. And of course, you compare them to the best in the market. You can't benchmark with a lesser competitor. If you want to benchmark, then you compare it with the higher competitors. Okay. So these are things that you need to take into account when you want to evaluate quality. What does your customer think about you? That the price needs to be in level of what you're offering. That you need to meet certain quality standards, and not because I say so, but because we need to use international evaluators like ISO, or we need to be able to check quality in all the different stages of the production process. Okay, and we need to also be able to benchmark um, um, with the best in the business. For example, if you want to sell a cell phone, then you will compare it with maybe Apple or Samsung. If you want to create a car, then you want to compare it with, let's say, Japanese or German or European brands. Okay, you're not going to compare them with brands that are not competitive. Okay, so that is benchmarking. These are some ways to during the production process of measuring quality. Okay, very good. And we're all going to continue again with the next topic here. Managing the production process. Okay, how do we manage the production process? Let's look at here. It says manufacturing takes place in a plant or factory or facility. The process can be capital intensive, requires a lot of finance, or labor intensive, which requires a lot of manpower. Okay, so again, manufacturing takes place in a factory, and the process can be capital intensive. That means that it's very expensive to do so, to create it, or labor intensive, where it requires a lot of people to create it. Okay, the operation is efficient at transforming inputs, means materials, labor, and information into finished goods. Then there is a high level of productivity. Okay, so if the operation is efficient at taking the raw material and transforming it into a finished product, then it has a high level of productivity. So we mentioned three things here. Does it need a lot of money? Capital intensive. Do you need a lot of people to be able to produce it? Labor intensive. And are you capable of taking the raw material and transforming it into a finished product? Then you have a high level of productivity. Okay, how efficient you are at doing this. Okay, let's continue. Key stages in the manufacturing process. First, the first thing you need to do is to plan. Okay, it involves trying to bring together customer demand with operational issues. A bill of material is made and compared to the inventory, and any necessary purchases are made. So you plan. Again, we said the bill of materials, we mentioned it before, the bill of materials is everything you need to be able to function properly. Okay, so when you plan, you evaluate what the customer needs and what you have. Okay, this is what my customer needs, and this is what my company can produce. What do I need to make them match? Okay, the bill of materials will make any changes necessary to your inventory. Maybe you have too many of things, so you're going to decrease it. Maybe you need more, so you're going to acquire them. Everything, all this is done in the planning stage. The next stage is the sequencing. Okay, a supervisor decides which workstation, machine, or employee will carry out which task and in which order. So the supervisor will say, okay, in this sequence, this is going to, this person or this machine is going to take care of this process. The following process is going to be taken care of by this machine or this person, etc., etc. The supervisor will decide who is going to do what and in what order. Of course, meaning efficiency standards. Okay, you want to make things more, you want to do them quicker and at a lower cost and maintaining certain standards. The next is the scheduling. Okay, the scheduling is done by the supervisor. He decides when something is going to start and when something is going to finish. Okay, and this is done by the supervisor. The supervisor will decide when to start something and when to finish it to be able to meet deadlines or certain numbers or standards. Okay, very good. The next step is the dispatching. Again, the supervisor authorizes tasks to begin giving detailed instructions. He's going to say, okay, we have met the number that we need. Now let's start taking it where it needs to go. Notice the decision making and the importance of the supervisor. That's why this person needs to always be be up to date in every step of the process. Okay, so the first step is planning what we need, how much of something that we need, do we have it, do we need to get it. Next, sequencing. Supervisor, he decides, okay, the first step is this, second step is this, third step is this, you're going to do this, you're going to do this, and you are going to do this. Scheduling. Okay, we're going to start doing this activity in this date, and we should be finished by this date. As soon as the deadline is this. After this deadline, we start again for the next step, etc., etc. And this until we finish the product. The dispatching, okay, now the product is, we need to have the complete product finished by this date because we're going to start dispatching or delivering starting this date, and we're going to deliver during these dates or during this timeline. Okay, so it's important to be able to take into account these steps during the manufacturing process. And here are a couple more. Loading. The materials or parts are introduced to an operation so that it can begin. A robot loads an assembly line with new components, and an operator loads a machine with raw material. Okay, this is also a key step in the manufacturing process. The loading of what we need and where we need it. Monitoring. This involves checking progress, eliminating bottlenecks, and identifying and solving problems. A bottleneck, as you know, and is used also in traffic sometimes, is when too many things try to go into a single area and nothing advances because a bottleneck is produced. Okay, so this has to do also with the production part. Okay, somebody needs to be able to load what is needed to produce. Somebody is monitor that that there are no bottlenecks and that there are no problems, and if there are, identifying and solving them. Okay, so these are also two steps that are key in the manufacturing process. And now we have key issues. Okay, the first, what we just mentioned are key stages. Now we're going to mention two key issues in the manufacturing process. The first one is the control of the capacity. There might be a need to ramp up or increase production. Okay, do we need more? Do we need less? Okay, somebody needs to control this. Okay, so this is one issue that can appear. And the other issue that can appear is the control of inventory. It's a need to constantly check if what is had is enough and if a purchase is necessary. So these two things are key issues during the manufacturing process. Are we in full capacity? Are we under capacity? Do we need more of something? Do we need less of something? These things need to be taken into account during the manufacturing process, because if you don't control capacity, you won't be able to meet your deadlines, your numbers. Maybe you will spend more than you can. Maybe you will you could produce more, but you're not doing it, so you're underproducing. And the control of the inventory, again, you're not going to wait for things to disappear to get them. You need to have them in stock. And also, you cannot stock too much because you might run the risk of damaging or the product maybe expiring, and then you're going to lose money. Okay, so these are two key issues during the manufacturing process. Okay, so first we saw key stages in the manufacturing process: planning, sequencing, scheduling, and dispatching, as well as the loading and the monitoring. And then we saw key issues in the manufacturing process, the control of capacity, and the control of inventory. Okay, these are key aspects of the manufacturing process. Very good. Now, let's go into what lean operations in JIT means. Lean means thin in a healthy way. In the business context, it refers to an approach which tries to meet demand instantaneously. That means as quickly as possible, with perfect quality and no waste. Okay, so lean operations means to try to meet the demand instantaneously with perfect quality and no waste. The most important idea of lean operations is that of minimizing inventory kept in the premises, both stock and work in progress. Okay, work in progress means that the things that you are already using and the things that you are not using yet. So part of the components, raw materials, and other supplies are delivered to the factory just as they are needed. Okay, we are going to have what we need, no more, no less. Once delivered, they are throughput, which is the rate from where they go from beginning to finish in a fast way. Okay, the need to carry inventory does not disappear. Okay, it just shifts to the supplier. So the supplier, it's the person who who will need to control that we have what we need. Okay, yeah, thank you, Robert. Thank you. So like I was saying, the supplier is the person who is going to have the responsibility of having my things when I need them. You know, that's why it's important to choose the correct suppliers, because if a supplier is not reliable, our lean operations could be affected. Okay, I need a certain amount of something before this date, because I have made my calculations that after that date, my production is going to be affected. So my supplier needs to be able to meet to meet my inventory needs. Okay, so again, lean operation is when we want to minimize the time that we produce something. Okay, and using and no, literally to no waste. Okay, and we need to have an inventory of things that we were going to need and that we're going to be using at the same time. Okay, so we need to have both. And then we will have them when we need them. And again, as I said before, the responsibility falls on the suppliers, because we need to choose the suppliers properly. Another thing that we need, technique used for lean operations is often called just-in-time or JIT techniques. As I was saying, JIT, just-in-time techniques. And these include some of the following. Okay, developing working practices which support continuous improvement. And in Japanese, they're called kaizen. Okay, kaizen. These are practices that will maintain continuous improvement. We're always getting better. Okay. Next, involving all staff in quality initiatives. Okay, all the staff needs to be constantly taught and educated and sent to workshops and stuff to keep them up to date, so they're always at their best. Reducing setup and change over time. Okay, so we need to reduce the time that something is set up and the time that something is changed. Okay, we can't spend time setting up things. Okay, things need to be as quickly as possible, meeting at least the minimal levels of standards. Next, improving the flow of work in progress around the plant by rearranging layout and using machines that are small, simple, robust, and flexible. That means that we need to know how to and where to collocate our machines. Okay, I don't know if you have seen this movie about the McDonald's. Okay, they have they have a process that is very dependent on where each machine is and how much space there is between each machine. If something was collocated in the wrong position, then the production was affected. Okay, so it's important to create an area where everything is where it should be. Okay, that won't affect the time of production and the result that we have. Next, incorporating manufacturing considerations into the design process, reducing production costs by reducing design complexity. We've mentioned this many times during these lectures. We need complexity is important because it's going to define how much profit we're going to have. The less complex that we are, the more profitable that it will be. Okay, so we will reduce cost by reducing the complexity. So it's important. It's important to know this or to apply this when we make our design, when we make our brief. What will be the best design that will produce or create most profit? And finally is making every effort to eliminate waste. The less waste that we have, the more, the less, again, sorry about being redundant, but the less money that we're going to lose, okay? Because the more that we can take advantage of everything that we have, the better or the more profit that we're going to have. So this is what comes into mind when we talk about lean operations or JIT. We want to do the best in the least time possible, wasting with minimal waste. Okay, sometimes waste is inevitable, but we need to keep it at a minimum. Okay, very good. Quality management. What is quality? Quality includes functionality, appearance, reliability, durability, the ease of recovery from problems, contact with company staff. These are the only ways that we can control quality. Okay, quality needs to be in all of these things. Not only, okay, maybe it functions properly, but it doesn't look very good. So that's not a synonym of quality. Maybe it looks beautiful, but it's not reliable because it doesn't function all the time. So that's not quality. Maybe again, maybe it's a beautiful product, but it lasts only for a week. Then again, that's not quality. Many things need to be taken into account to be able to assure or to talk about quality. Now, there are different types of qualities. Okay, now quality has evolved depending on the users and the cases. For example, the first type of quality was quality control. It's like taking samples for product and doing tests to see if it meets certain standards. Okay, so I take a product from a certain level, I evaluate it. Is it proper? Does it meet standards? Is it good? Is it working? Good. It goes to the next step. But then something changed, and now quality control became quality assurance. Now, we not only take into account if the product is working, but how it is working with our customers. So now we create, now a customer service appears. For example, I am a producer of cell phones. My cell phone works properly. It's beautiful. It has all the quality measures. I'm going to sell it. But now we create customer service to help my customers deal with any problem. So I am continuing with my quality control. And then after quality assurance, we also needed to include more because it wasn't enough. So the concept of total quality management appeared, TQM. Okay. Now, total quality management involves everything. It covers the whole organization, from process control to product testing to determining the customer needs to dealing with complaints. It has to do with the whole process, from getting the raw material to making it work, to the dispatch, to the customer service, and dealing with complaints. So this involves the whole company, not only making the product, but how the customer feels, how we can solve its problems. Okay, and now is where international standards like ISO 9000 appear, and also Six Sigma. Six Sigma is a statistical measure, meaning that fewer than 3.4 defects per million are produced. Okay, it's impossible not to have any defects, but there's a standard called Six Sigma where 3.4 per million is acceptable. More than that, then we are not covering the quality standards. Okay, so we need to be in this this area. Very good. So let's go on to our final part where we review. Okay, so here are remember that we mentioned some stages. I would like for you to match the different stages. For example, introducing materials to an operation, authorizing a task to begin, bringing together customer demand, checking progress and solving problems, deciding when tasks should start and finish, and deciding which workstation will carry out which task. And these are the different stages: planning, sequencing, scheduling, dispatching, loading, monitoring. Now, let's see. Planning. Which step is planning? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6? Which planning? Is it introducing materials? Is it authorizing a test to begin? Okay, so planning is very good. Number 3, excellent, very good. Now sequencing, which one is sequencing? Okay, yes, very good. Sequencing is number 6, excellent. What about scheduling or scheduling if you study American English? Scheduling, British English, scheduling, American English. So number 5, very good, scheduling. Number 5, deciding when tasks should start and finish. What about dispatching? Which is dispatching? Okay, so if you said number 2, you were correct. Authorizing a task to begin. That's the dispatch. Okay, now you can start. Okay, now you can begin. Now you can continue. Loading. We only have 2 more, right? We have number 1 and number 4. So loading, which one is it? Introducing materials to an operation so I can begin, or deciding which workstation will carry out which. No, sorry. Checking progress and solving problems. Very good. If you said loading was number 1, you were correct. Introducing materials to an operation so I can begin. And finally, monitoring is number 4, checking progress and solving problems. Very good. Okay, so these are the different stages in the production process. And finally, is matching words with the definitions. So we have here specific problems that causes delays to a whole process, the amount of work that can be dealt with a particular time period, a product that solves its intended function without any extra feature, if a product has good quality in relationship to its price, the characteristic of always working well, and finally the characteristic of lasting a long time. Which is which? The specific problem that cause delay in the whole process. And the specific problems that cause delay in the whole process, which is it? Throughput, fit for purpose, value for money, reliability, durability, and bottleneck. Let's see. You said bottleneck. Let's check. Very good. Bottleneck is a specific problem that causes delay in the process of production. The amount of work that can be dealt with a particular time period. The amount of work that can be dealt during a particular time period. What can you do from beginning to end? Okay, so if you, let's see what you guys said. That's difficult. Remember, it's the process, it's the time from the when you start something until you have the finished product. And there's a, I mean, there's an this can be done in a certain time. Every company has a certain throughput. There we go, throughput. Yes, very good. Next, a product that serves its intended function without any extra features. You get what you acquire. A product that serves its intended function without any, I mean, you only get when you, I mean, you don't get any extra things. It's fit for its purpose, okay? It does what it's supposed to do. That's it. Now, if a product has a good quality in relationship to its price, okay? Price, which word has to do with price? A product has a good quality in relationship to its price. Very good. The value for your money. And then the last two, the characteristic of always working well. The characteristic of always working well. It's the reliability, okay? You can depend on it. And finally, that it lasts for a long time, it is durability, okay? It's durable. It's going to last for a long, long time. Okay, this is the final slide here. Again, thank you for your attention. Thank you for your participation. Remember that we have these classes on Tuesday, Thursdays, and Saturdays. On Tuesday, we will talk about marketing strategy and product development. Okay, marketing strategy and product development. Thank you for your questions and your participation. Again, if you have any questions, you can contact me through my email. That's my number for any WhatsApp questions, and my LinkedIn account where you can follow me or ask me any questions related to English. Okay. I don't want to take too much of your time. I hope you have a great Saturday and a great weekend, and I will see you on Tuesday. You're welcome. I'm glad it was interesting. It is a very interesting topic. It's very. I wish I had more time, but we only have 1 hour. Okay, so thanks again. I hope you have a great weekend again. Stay safe. Please don't go out if it's not necessary. And if you go out, wash your hands and change your clothes and follow all the necessary procedures to stay safe as well as your family. I will see you next week. Have a great weekend.